Hey everybody. I've been having a real hard time lately striking a difference between feedback and correction and showing love and encouragement. I've almost always been a person who makes something better, improves something after deciding and determining the weaknesses and what areas need to be improved. I've never been a maximizing kind of a person. Like take something that's good and try and improve on that and make it better. I'm the person who always looks at, all right, what's wrong here? What needs to be improved? And that's how we're going to cause positive change. That's been a hard thing. I always come off as a negative kind of person. Like I'm always seeking the problem. But the goal, I think my goal is always to help and make something better. Of course, a lot of people don't want to be told what's wrong with them. And a lot of the research, the psychology will show that by telling somebody what's wrong, they immediately go into a defensive mode instead of going into a growth and openness to improve mode. So I've been having a lot of trouble with that in a lot of different aspects. With my fiance, with my students, with a sibling or two, and it's just a continuing thing. In high school, I was an athlete and always wanted to become better. And the way I became better was fixing what was wrong, especially with wrestling. I was a new wrestler my sophomore year in high school, and by that time, it's really hard to pick up the sport. There's a lot of technical things and movements, and I was just not good at it. I was not athletic. I was not coordinated, but I had a really good coach. Uh, Coach Kittleson was always the person to help me out. He showed me what to do, where to put that arm, where to move, how to use my body, how to use my hips, all that kind of stuff. So I've always been a improvement. I've always been average or below average at pretty much anything athletic related and a lot of other things. So I always try to think of, okay, what's wrong? What am I doing wrong? How can I fix it? And I've always been that way. So I'm trying to be, my goal is to love people and to encourage and to get people to heaven, and I want people to be encouraged and see the joy and the beauty and how great Jesus and Christianity are. And as a teacher, my job is to love and encourage, but also to rebuke and to correct behavior that's not holy, that's not right, that's not good or fruitful. So that's kind of my conundrum. I always have a hard time finding that balance of how do I rebuke, but also explain and encourage, but not being a pushover and not just holding the line where it needs to be held. There's some gray areas of some things, but then there's just a line that needs to be held. I'm the adult. I know what the correct moral choice is here. You need to obey it. Period. So that's the issue. I guarantee this is going to come up in my parenting someday. I don't want to be that, if it's the carrot or the stick, I don't want to have to be the stick all the time. I will be because a parent needs to be that, needs to, impose morality. And I'll use that word impose, which has been kind of and had a negative connotation lately. If you're going to impose your morality on somebody, well, if it's the right morality, if it is love, if it is good, that's what must be imposed. Something that changed my life was probably 2 years ago when I learned what love truly means. Love's not a feeling, not just a feeling, it's not just an emotion. To love is to will the good of the other. That's it. That's love. You do for somebody what's best for them. You will their good. It just blew my mind. Totally blew my mind wide open. I finally got it. I finally understood the difference between love and being in love, and commitment in a marriage, and being romantically in love in a marriage. My uncle told me one time that a marriage is much more about commitment than it is about love. And he was getting at commitment versus the feeling of being in love. Whereas commitment and love are really the same thing. It's willing the good of the other. In a marriage, you have to be self-sacrificial. In a relationship, you have to be self-sacrificial. You have to do what's the best for the other, what's best for the family, now what's best for you. So again, there's a couple of different fine lines here. The line between loving somebody and showing them love and enabling them and rebuking versus allowing, but also explaining and encouraging. So that's what's going on lately. If anybody has any advice on how to toe that line, again, there's different types of personalities, so different people need to be encouraged or rebuked or corrected in different ways. So if anybody has any good advice or good resources for this, other than just praying for my patience, I would greatly appreciate that if you could pray for my patience, because I always need that. And slowing down, stepping out of situation for just a half a second before I react and just go at it and correct and chastise. How can I lovingly rebuke? Leave a comment, leave a resource, a book, or a prayer, something like that, and help me out. Thanks for listening. Hopefully this problem gets better and I can check in with you and let you know how this is all going. Have a good night.